Hello, risky times. That's what we live in, so we're told, and that's the name of this show. If you are a solicitor, whether you're practicing or training to be, you will probably be aware that these are indeed risky times for those working in the legal profession. Why do I say that? There is a very heavy burden of regulation on the legal profession. Some would say is a good thing, others would say not. So we're here today to discuss certain issues in relation to these risky times. Joining me today is Chris Kirkblythe, CEO of LBS Legal. Hello, Chris.
Hi.
And also Mike Chard, Managing Director of Web for Law.
Hello.
Hello. Mike, Chris, thank you for joining us today. Would you agree it is indeed risky times to be a solicitor in the 21st century? Would you say that's fair enough, Chris?
Yes, I would. There are a whole host of risks associated with, in particular, owning a legal firm. Financial risks, regulatory risks, reputational risks, all sorts of business and strategic risks. The list goes on, really. You're probably in one of the most, if not the most, risky professions in the UK. And
it has been highlighted. I mean, I know that within the Solicitor's Code of Conduct, the SRA Code of Conduct, to be precise, the two greatest areas of risk that are cited relates to money laundering risks and data protection risks. Mike, I just wanted to know what you think of that, and why do you think the regulator sees particularly money laundering and data protection as the two greatest areas of risk to solicitors?
Well, Steve, criminals want to steal your money, and they also want to steal information. And money and information are two things that lawyers hold on behalf of their clients. And lawyers are more vulnerable than banks because although they act as a bank in relation to their clients' money, they're vulnerable to the attacks from criminals who then look at the situation and think, where can we go, which is the easiest way to identify and steal the thing that we want.
So I presume you're referring here to particularly data protection issues, yes. The information,
yes.
that the solicitors hold. So you're saying the actual information that they hold is extremely attractive to the criminals.
Yes.
Why is that? Why is that information so attractive to criminals? I mean, what do you think that is? Why is that?
Because if I have information on you, your name, your address, your date of birth, your national insurance number, all sorts of information, then I can steal your identity. And when I steal your identity, then effectively I steal your life. And I can steal your, not just your identity, but then I can use that to steal your money.
Chris, there is a lot of businesses out there that by their nature they tend to manage a lot of personal data, their staff, their customers, in the case of solicitors, their clients. So why then would you think that the legal profession is being set aside as the greatest area of risk? In other words, why are criminals targeting solicitors particularly for their data? Because other businesses, you must admit, carry the same sort of information.
There are all sorts of businesses which hold, in one form or another, information about people. Law firms are just pretty ordinary in that respect. The nature of the information which lawyers often hold can be very private and very sensitive and very comprehensive, and therefore is of use to criminals in various ways. And of course, the extent of the duty of lawyers to protect that information goes above and beyond the duty which most business owners would have. Most businesses which process personal data do not owe the same duties of confidentiality to their clients that are unique to lawyers, and nor is their information often subject to legal professional privilege. So the duty to information is not actually new to lawyers. Duties of confidentiality and the duty to protect and preserve legal privilege have existed for a very long time. So this should not be unfamiliar territory to lawyers. What perhaps is new territory is the extent to which that information is held and managed electronically. And that has caused an awful lot of problems and is likely to cause more problems.
And I think that's an important distinction as well, because in my experience, many people working in the legal profession, when they think of data protection legislation, they automatically align it to IT, electronic data being held, and it just simply isn't the case. We're talking about paper-based files as well, obviously, and many firms still operate on a paper-based, hard copy basis.
And in fact, sorry to cut across you, but in fact, most breaches of client confidentiality still occur in the traditional ways, down the pub, on the train, in the hairdressers, in the coffee shops, etc., etc. So there's no point in having extremely sophisticated electronic systems in place to protect client data if you're going to discuss your client's business down the pub.
And indeed, the reason behind most data breaches is purely down to human error. It's not to do with any sort of technical glitches. So I want to bring you in here, Mike, as well, because being MD of Web for Law, your business primarily is concerned with risk and compliance based on IT systems, on software. So you're very much sort of focused on that key area. So from your experience in terms of systems and for protecting data electronically, how do you feel the profession stands generally? Do you think it's behind? It's not really up to date, because Chris has just said many firms still, many breaches are still based on the old-fashioned way of just leaving files in cards. Do you think that firms need to sort of address their systems more towards an electronic-based system in order to protect their clients' data more effectively? Or do you think they're generally sort of doing a good job already?
I think a lot of firms don't realise how reliant they are on technology. Even firms that say, oh, well, we don't use computers. Well, they do, because the secretaries use computers, the fee earners use computers. Pretty well everybody these days has a mobile phone. When you use your mobile phone, even if it's a phone that is only used for personal reasons, inevitably information that you have is actually on that phone and can be hacked into. And I'll give you a simple example of the sort of risks that people run. For obvious reasons, we're heavily protected against malware, viruses, all the things that we understand. And I complained to my accounts manager that if we have all this software, why is it that that I'm still receiving about 10 emails a day, which are clearly emails involving requests for information that are attempts to actually hack into our system. And he said, Mike, we get 3,500 emails a day trying to steal information. Right? The 10 that you see are the 10 that get through the whole system. And the software picks up those 10 and you don't see them again, but the criminals are clever people, and it's purely a numbers game. And somewhere in China, somewhere in Russia, there's somebody creating a program sending out hundreds of thousands of these emails every day, and they're just waiting for one person to click on that one attachment and they're in. Okay, so what it boils down to, this is the type of crime that isn't directed at anybody on an individual basis. It's purely numbers, and you only need the criminal to get through once, and your data is stolen and it's compromised.
Okay, thanks Chris, thanks Mike. We're going to take a quick break now. Join us again in a few minutes on Risky Times, and we'll be chatting further on this very, very important issue.